You can't get every character in Genshin Impact. Well, maybe you can if you're super lucky or a whale, but for the rest of us, we actually have to save up and choose who we get. Because of this, we have to be very careful when choosing who we pull for, and even when we are being very careful for who we pull for, if you've played Genshin long enough, you probably have at least one character that you regret pulling, even though you may have wanted them at the time. In retrospect, you don't really want them as much, and if you could go back in time, you wouldn't have pulled them. And I have my fair share of those characters. So, let's go over the characters I pulled for, in the order that I pulled for them, and then I'll go over if I regret them, or if I'm actually happy and content with pulling them. The first ever limited 5-star character I got is Xiao. I got Xiao on his first banner, and I saved for him actually. I intentionally pulled for him. I saved up since the beginning of the game, kind of, since Child's banner really. I missed my 50-50 on Child's banner, and I got Mona. She was my first 5-star, and then Xiao is the first limited 5-star character I got. And I like Xiao a lot. Xiao became my main for almost a year. I do not regret getting Xiao. In fact, when I first got him, I actually kept pulling him and got him C1, which was nice, because my Xiao at least, I don't know if all Xiaos have it, but my Xiao had energy problems, so that C1 helped quite a bit, and I don't regret him at all. I don't use him anymore, even though I love him. I just don't use him anymore. I kind of don't like his gameplay anymore. It's not like I get dizzy from going up and down with the jumps and stuff. It's just that really, honestly, his skill is so clunky, and his burst, when you slam with his burst, it pushes enemies away, so it's hard to keep them grouped, and it's so annoying to do. So yeah, I don't regret getting Xiao. He was my first limited 5-star character, and I love him. I enjoyed the time I had with him, but honestly, I don't use him anymore. There are other characters that I enjoy more, and it's just the way it is. I don't use him anymore. He's kind of dusty, and I don't plan to use him anytime in the future, but I still enjoyed the time I had with him, and I do not regret that. The next limited time 5-star character I got was Yoimiya, and it's kind of crazy to say that just because she came out 10 months after the game came out. I mean, she literally came out in 2.0. Like, the game was already on its second section, and I got my second limited time 5-star character. It's just crazy because basically a year after the game came out and I only have 2 limited 5-star characters. As for if I regret getting Yoimiya, no, I do not regret getting Yoimiya at all. In fact, later on, trying to get a C6 Yujin to support her, I actually got 2 extra Yoimiya, so now I have a C2 Yoimiya, and I don't care. I love her. I use her all the time. She is my girl. I may get other characters, so I'm going to build teams around them and use them for a little bit, but I always come crawling back to Yoimiya. I just love her so much. I love her gameplay, even if it is just like auto attack spam. I love it so much. Yoimiya is also my most expensive character. I did spend a lot of money trying to get her weapon. I mean, I did get her weapon in the end, but I spent a little bit of money trying to get it, and I also spent money buying Vulcans, knowing that she was coming in the future, so I saved up a lot of Primo Gems just to get her and her weapon. So she is my most expensive character. Still don't regret it. She is awesome. I wish I had more to say because I'm telling you, I love her so much, but I don't have anything to say about her. She's just an amazing character. I love playing her. She's my favorite character. The next character I got was Raiden Shogun, right after Yoimiya. You know, Yoimiya's first banner happened, and then Raiden Shogun's. So I was all out of Primo Gems. As I said, I had to swipe the card just to get enough Primo Gems to get Yoimiya's weapon. So I was literally drained, and I had 0 Primo Gems. So when I could scrounge up enough Primo Gems, I did drop them on Raiden's banner. But even still then, I didn't have my guaranteed 50-50 pity, so I could have got a standard banner character. Luckily, on September 14th, I happened to get Raiden, and I do not regret getting Raiden at all. She is one of the most amazing characters in the game. Even at the time, she was an amazing character, but her full power wasn't realized yet just because she was new, so people were being very speculative and didn't know everything about her. But Raiden is amazing. Rational, or Raiden National, is an amazing team, and then with the release of Dendro, now I just have my Raiden as an EM bot. She is a Hyper Bloom machine. She does so much damage, and I love her for that. Raiden is just such an amazing character. I actually have her as one of the top 3 characters I would get if I were to start a new account. I have 3 limited time 5-star characters in mind, and Raiden is one of them. Of course, you can run her in the Dendro for Hyper Bloom, but honestly, I just run her in Rational. You know, you have Raiden, Xingqiu, Bennett, and Zhongling, and that team is going to obliterate whatever half of the Spiral Abyss you put it on. It is just such an amazing team. So far, there's no limited time 5-star character I've gotten that I have regretted, but that's about to change. The next character I got was Ganyu, and I know, Ganyu's an amazing character, right? She is the charge shot GOAT. That's actually exactly why I got her. I didn't get her for, you know, there's a lot of reasons to get a character, like maybe you like them as a character. I got Ganyu to do big damage, and she does that. However, her gameplay is just so unengaging, I just don't like her. And I know, you hear that, and you're like, blah, blah, blah. But if you get Ganyu, you're going to think the same thing. Because I always heard that. I always heard this, like, Ganyu's gameplay is not fun. You just sit there and charge shot. And it's like, what do these guys know? She does so much damage. It doesn't matter. But I got her, and I'm like, man, they're right. I do not enjoy this. Sitting there with a charge shot. It's just not fun. This problem was amplified even more by the fact that I ran a freeze team. I know you already don't have to move your mouse because her blooms do such a big AoE and they do so much damage it doesn't matter. But now that the enemies are frozen, I quite literally don't have to move my mouse. I can sit there and charge shot, and it just wasn't engaging at all. And I also have a problem with her freeze teams. Maybe it was just my freeze team or my skill issue because I couldn't do it right. But I found it hard to keep the enemies frozen for a good enough time to actually get a few charge shots in. I was using Mona as my only Hydra application, which I know is not a good. I mean, it can work, but it's also annoying because she doesn't have a really good Hydra application or uptime on her Hydra application. I mean, her burst makes up for it with the Omen it gives. However, Itcha was just a pain to run, and it felt very clunky running Freeze Ganyu with her. So I just gave up on that dream. No, I never gave her Melt Team a chance until Dendro came out, and I ran her with Burn Melt with Nahida, Ganyu, and then Zhongling and a flex, which of course would be Zhongli. It could be Bennett, but I ran Zhongli, right? And I did run that team, and that team is a lot of fun to run. I've done a few bosses with it, maybe a few world bosses, but I've never bring it into the Abyss just because I don't really enjoy it. I still don't enjoy it. It is a fun team to run. However, I still regret getting Ganyu. I just don't use her at all. I got her for the purpose of doing big damage, but she doesn't really do that big damage. And the big damage she does can be outdone by other characters I have, right? I don't have a Amos bow for her or Hunter's Path or anything like that to make her really good. I just have the prototype Crescent, the free-to-play weapon, which is nice. It gives a lot of attack, but I mean, I like some of those crit stats that the other bows give, or the EM that the Hunter's Path gives. It's just, and actually Hunter's Path also gives crit, something from crit, which is nice. I just really don't enjoy the gameplay of it at all. Ganyu is nice if you want big damage, but that's really all you're going to be getting from it. It's quite boring to play, and because of that, I do regret getting her. The next character I got was Zhongli, and he happened to have a double rerun with Ganyu, so I actually got Zhongli 3 days after I got Ganyu, which was nice. I was able to get them both. I had a win of 50-50 to get Zhongli, but I got him and Ganyu, and I just wanted Ganyu more, which is why I wish for her first. But in retrospect, I like Zhongli more than I like Ganyu. I do not regret getting my Zhongli at all. I didn't get him in his first banner just because he was very controversial. He wasn't that good, and he got insanely buffed. If you weren't there, basically, he got mega buffed, all right? He is really good compared to what he was at. And I even made a video on that talking, at the time, I made a video on how he wasn't a DPS, and people didn't like that. Obviously, he was built to be a big shielder, right? And I don't know why people got mad at me for that video, but I was there when that happened, and I came back to get Zhongli in one of his reruns when he was buffed, right? And he's an amazing character. I do not regret getting him at all, and honestly, he's my most used character. Like, I claim to be a Yoimiya main, but I mean, I really am a Zhongli main because I don't always use Yoimiya. Yoimiya can only be present in Yoimiya teams, but Zhongli, he could be present in most other teams just because he's a shield bot. That's all I have him for. I have him built full HP. He is just a shield bot. I do not take damage. The damage and difficulty of the game is turned off when I have Zhongli on my team. It is amazing, and I love that. It's so much more fun. I can just, like, you know, when I do use him with Yoimiya, I can just mash her to left click, and every other character that has something, I don't have to worry about dodging. I can just do their attacks, not even worry about dodging at all. Zhongli's amazing. I have used him in every single Abyss since I have gotten him. There's not an Abyss where I haven't had him on one of the halves. He is just a great character. He turns the difficulty off, and I enjoy that so much about him. And I know I'm hyping out Zhongli. I just love him that much. He turns off the difficulty, but he's not one of the 3 characters that if I were to start a new account, I would get, like Raiden is. However, the next character I got is, and that is Kazuha. Kazuha is such an amazing character, and if you ask me who the best character in Genshin Impact is, I'd say it's a tie between Kazuha and Bennett. Look, Kazuha and Bennett are just amazing, and I can't say one's better than the other, although if I were to choose, I would pick Kazuha over Bennett just because he's a 5-star, and he just has a lot of capabilities like grouping, in addition to the other buffing stuff he does. I got Kazuha on his rerun banner, and I would have gotten him on his first banner, but his first banner was right before Yoimiya's first banner, and Yoimiya's my girl, so I had to get her, and I couldn't risk having to not have enough Primo Gems. If I lose my 50-50, I wouldn't be able to get Yoimiya guaranteed. So then I'd have to swipe, and well, I ended up swiping anyways on Yoimiya because I wanted her weapon. So in the end, I could have got Kazuha too, I guess. It's not hard to say that I don't regret getting Kazuha. I really like Kazuha. He's just such a fun character to play, especially with the scale going up and down, and it does the grouping thingy. I love the grouping thingy. It's a very easy grouping thingy to do. It's the best grouping in the game when it comes to grouping enemies where you want to group them, because Venti's burst, it comes out like in front of him. Sucrose's skill and burst also go out in front of her. You can just stand where you want the enemies to be grouped and then just do his skill. It's really nice. I like it a lot. He also runs Viridescent Venerer in addition to his talent that gives elemental damage bonus to any element he swirls. So in addition to swirling that element and getting that Viridescent Venerer resistance decrease, he also gives an elemental damage bonus. He's just such a nice character. He's really good, amazing, and he is definitely one of the top 3 characters I would get if I were to start again. The next character I got was Venti on his 4th banner. Yes, finally I got him. I tried getting him on all his other banners, but I didn't have enough. And eventually I was able to get Venti on his 4th banner. So it took me a while. You know, it took me a few years, but I did get him. My feelings on Venti are mixed. You see, I got Venti to use him, but I also like him as a character, and I made it a goal of mine to collect every single Archon. I already had Riding Shogun and Zhongli, I just need to collect Venti, and then I'd have all 3 of the playable Archons. And then a little after, 2 months later, after I get Venti, I can get Nahida, and I'd have 4 Archons, 4 of the 4 playable Archons. You see, I really wanted to use Venti. I didn't just want to have him, I wanted to use him. And that's where the problem lies, is because Venti is such a good character, his burst is so amazing, all future content past 2.0 has been Venti-proof, basically. His burst is so amazing that it absolutely demolishes any enemies that get sucked into it. So what happened was, MiHoYo at the time, now Hoyoverse, added in enemies to the Spiral Abyss that can't be sucked up by Venti. And it really sucks, because then his burst just sits out in space, and you're lucky if the enemy, or the whatever enemy that can't be sucked in is even near it to get swirled a little bit. It's really annoying and it sucks, and that's just how it is now. I can still use Venti in some domains that have enemies that can be sucked up, but it just doesn't feel good to use Venti against enemies that can't be sucked up by his burst. And the problem is, his burst is so good that when it does suck up enemies, it obliterates everything. So they had to actually balance the rest of the game around Venti's burst and make sure there are enemies in the game that don't get sucked up by him. It sucks. I just got him when he was past his prime. If I got him towards the beginning of the game on his first banner, maybe I wouldn't be as sad. But overall, I kind of regret getting him, but at the same time, I can't say I do. I'd say I don't regret getting him just because I want to keep that goal of collecting every single Archon. The next character is the last character of the 3 characters I would save up for if I had to start a new account, and that is Nahida. Of course I was going to get Nahida anyways, just because she is part of my conquest to get every single Archon, but she is an amazing character and I use her all the time. If she wasn't, I wouldn't be using her all the time, but she is super good. She is the best Denjo character. She has the laziest application of Denjo in the entire game, and she can do that on and off field. She's just great, and with Denjo being such an overpowered element ever since it's been added, she is what you need for the big Denjo damage. Ever since I've gotten Nahida, just like Zhongli, there hasn't been a Spiral Abyss where I haven't used her on one side of the Abyss in floor 12. It just doesn't happen, right? She's just so good. I always use her. I really like her a lot. And her kit is just built so perfectly to beat Denjo. Because Denjo is an element that has a lot of reactions and you want that elemental mastery, her burst, when you use it, it gives elemental mastery to the active character. It is just so nice. I love it so much. She's a great character, and I do not regret getting her at all. The next character I got was on the second half of the 3.2 banners, and the first half being Nahida. And that character is Tartaglia, and I love Tartaglia. I don't know why or what was so elusive to me about him for me to pull him on his 4th banner. I think it was the Riptides. There was something so cool about the Riptides, and I was like, ooh, I want that. And I decided to pull for him. I didn't have any chance of actually getting him, I didn't think, because I was out of primos from spending it all on Nahida, and then the weapon banner, and I didn't even get her weapon on the weapon banner. I got a second Thundering Pulse, and I didn't need a second Thundering Pulse because I have Yoimiya, but that second Thundering Pulse was a blessing in disguise because I can build on my Tartaglia that I got on his banner. And that's probably part of the reason I also went for him, is because I was like, well, I do have a second Thundering Pulse, so if I do get him, I get him, and if I lose my 50-50, well, it's okay. And there wasn't even a chance that I got a 5-star. It was just on one late night, I happened to have a few Primo Gems left over because I was grinding out Primo Gems, going through the world looking for other Primo Gems that I could get because I really did want Child. So I just had to go around and do some exploration, get a few Primo Gems, and I was like, one more wish and then I'm going to bed, and I got him. I won my 50-50 and it was amazing. It was such a great feeling. I don't regret pulling Tartaglia at all. In fact, he is one of the reasons I actually made this video. There's a character that I don't regret getting and a character that I regret getting, and they are the reasons for me making this video. Child is the one that I don't regret. I love playing him. I only run him in Child National, and it's fun every single time. I love looking at those Riptides, all the Vaporizes, all that. I love it so much. He is such a fun character to play. The next character I got was Nilou, and I got Nilou impulsively. I was planning to pull for Baizu, and I was saving for him, but something about Nilou just was so elusive. I think it was the horns. I thought her horns were very cute. I liked her design, and I was like, you know what? I'll pull for her, and I'll get her, and I'll use her. But she's one of the characters I regret getting. I was also able to snipe her weapon, so yeah, I have a C0 R1 Nilou. However, her damage isn't the problem, and that's not why I'd regret her. Look, I like Nilou. In fact, I'd like to use her more. I like her design, and I like her as a character, and I kind of like her gameplay, but her gameplay is the problem, and that's why I regret getting her. The first reason I regret pulling Nilou is because her teams are just way too restrictive. You must have only Dendro and Hydro characters in your team, or else both of her passive talents don't work. Not just one of them, the Bountiful Cores one. No, the other one increases her Bountiful Core damage based on her HP. So both of her passive talents do not work unless you have Hydro and Dendro characters only in your team. And, you know, Vaporized Nilou isn't an existing team unless you're a C6 whale, alright? So for the rest of us, we have to run Bloom. And this is fine. Look, I knew going in to get Nilou that I could only run Hydro and Dendro characters in our team. Look, I'd like it if they went a little different with her passive talent. Maybe you get less damage on the Bountiful Cores if you don't have a Hydro or Dendro character, right? But you could still have Bountiful Cores happen, right? Something like that. But no, they said, nope, you must have Hydro and Dendro characters only. And I said, okay. Her second banner comes along, I pull her. That's fine. But the problem is, her setup is so painful to do, I just can't take it. You see, in order for Nilou's Bountiful Cores to actually proc and for them to actually happen when you do a Bloom reaction, you need to finish her skill. So you need to do 4 instances of her skill. Firstly, you need a starter skill by using her skill, and then you have to do 3 steps. They could either be normal attacks or they can be the skill press again, right? But you have to do 3 of them after you do the initial skill press. Now this is where my problem lies. You see, Nilou has a bunch of setup, and her setup takes a really long time to do. Even if you're pressing the skill then doing 3 normal attacks, you're still exposed for quite a bit of time. And if you get knocked back, which you will if you run Nilou, if you get knocked back while trying to get her skill just to get to the last step so you can actually get the Bountiful Cores to proc, it feels so horrible. It is such a horrible feeling, and it's gonna happen to you because you're exposed. You have to sit there and you just have to start swinging, and you have to do that even if it does no damage, just so you can get the Bountiful Cores to proc. So if you get knocked back, you know what's going to happen? You have to stand back up, and you have to finish trying to do the skill. And you could get knocked back again. It is so annoying. It sucks. I hate it so much. Now, there is a solution to this problem. Just use a shield, because even if a shield breaks, that instance of damage where it breaks won't knock you back, right? Okay. Well, Nilou's teams are restrictive, remember, so let's look at the Hydro and Dendro shielders we have before Baizu was released. Okay, now let's look at them after Baizu. Okay, so let's use Baizu. Okay, well, here's the problem. Baizu's shield sucks. Baizu's shield sucks even more in Nilou teams because Nilou teams are AoE teams, right? You build Nilou for AoE because those Bountiful Cores do big damage in an AoE. So Nilou is built for AoE. You have her for AoE situations. Well, Baizu's shield is not good for AoE situations because if you have 2 heavy hitting enemies, what's going to happen is if they attack you at the same time or near the same time, you're going to get hit by one. It's going to break your shield. You won't get knocked back by that one, but the second one's going to hit you and you're going to get knocked back. So the shield doesn't even fix the problem because Baizu's shield is so weak. Even if it regenerates, it's not going to regenerate in time often to shield you from the second attack. That is my main problem with Nilou. Her setup is so annoying because you can get constantly knocked out of it to the point where I regret pulling her. I mean it when I say this. I would go back in time and not pull for Nilou because her setup is such a pain. And so let's go on to Baizu, who obviously I also regret. Baizu sucks. I don't even think I need to say this. Baizu sucks. He just sucks, okay? There's nothing to say about it, right? His shield is a little gimmicky, right? His burst, it's a little gimmicky, right? It regenerates. It's low HP, but it regenerates. So it's basically there for knockback resistance and maybe a little bit of damage resistance. But it just sucks. I don't think you need me to tell you why Baizu sucks, alright? He was not received well by the community, and it was quite obvious. People do not like him. But you know what? I'm gonna put my 2 cents in anyways. Look, I use Baizu in my Aggravate Kaching team, and I also use him in my Nilou Bloom team when I feel like I want to experience some mental anguish. Now, there are many things to hate Baizu about, and I'm sure you've heard them just because of the community's reception. So if you don't have Baizu, well, first off, say thank you, God. You know, go take your time and take a minute to thank God for not having Baizu. And once you're done with that, come back here and let me give you the one thing I hate about Baizu other than all the other stuff. There's one more thing that you probably don't know about unless you have Baizu, and that is skill. It sucks. His skill will not hit 3 enemies. If there are 3 enemies right in front of Baizu and you throw a skill, there's no guarantee that it'll hit all 3 enemies. It might hit 1 enemy 3 times, or it might hit 1 enemy once and then another enemy twice, but it might not hit all 3. And that is very annoying when you're trying to apply Dendro, especially here when I'm running him as my only Dendro for my Aggravate Kaching team. I would really like it if his skill actually hit all the enemies and not just 1 or 2 of them. So that's just the cherry on top of how much Baizu sucks that you probably didn't know about. So just like Nilou, I regret pulling Baizu, and if I could go back in time, to me, I'd say stop. Do not pull that man. Whatever you do not pull that man. Save your Primo Gems. Do not get him. It just makes the timeline worse. That's it. Those are all the limited time 5-star characters I have pulled for and gotten. And, you know, there are some I regret. I mean, I'm bound to regret some, I guess. I've played the game since the beginning almost. I've played maybe a few days after the game came out, I started. I didn't know that it was free to play. I thought it was paid for, and that's why I didn't initially play it. I didn't even know what a gacha game was at the time. Well, I learned about what that was real quick. So, I just want to remind you that this is just my opinion and how I feel. You may not feel the same way I feel, so if I regretted a character, you may not regret them, and if I didn't regret a character, you may regret pulling them. So don't let this affect your pulling in any way, because we are different people, so we may feel different about the same thing. With that being said, if you somehow got this far, you're definitely enjoying the video, so at least like, and if you're feeling crazy, subscribe, because I do make Genshin videos, and I also make a few Honkai Star Rail videos here and there. So with that being said, I hope you have a good day or night. See ya.